The story goes like this. It had been 8 days since Jesus had done some teaching. 8 days is significant. The 8th day in Christian circles is a symbol for the resurrection, the 8th day of the week, the first day of new life. So Luke tells us it had been 8 days since some teaching. And what was the teaching? If any want to follow me, Jesus says, they must first deny themselves and pick up their cross and follow me. And where did he go? 8 days later, he went to a deserted place to pray. He went up to the top of the mountain. He took his friends with him, Peter and James and John, and he prayed. And while he was praying, his clothes turned dazzling white. Don't you wonder what that looked like? That's always the tripping point for me in this story. What would it mean to stand next to a glowing, radiant Jesus? Maybe the 8th day gives us a clue there. And then the disciples, they're so human, they're so tired from the expedition, they can barely stay awake. But they do. And they watch what happens. Jesus is standing there with Moses and with Elijah, the law and the prophets, and there the embodiment of good news, standing there all in one place. And Peter chimes in, I think as any of us would, this is great. We should stay right here. And Jesus says nothing. And they say nothing. But a voice from heaven calls out. In that same way it called out when Jesus was baptized. This is my son. Listen to him. And silently they came down the mountain. And the verse we normally don't read when we read this story is the beginning of the next story, verse 37, where it tells us that the crowds met Jesus once again. It's good for us to be here. Isn't it good for us to be in a place like this, to gather in our congregations, to hear the good news, the law and the prophets, to listen to the voice of God guiding our lives, to be reminded that our calling is to pick up the cross and follow Jesus wherever it leads? And yet so often, aren't we silent? Don't we want to linger here? After all, this is a great place and there are great things happening and it's a wonder to be a part of. But where is the call? The call for us to pick up our cross and follow Jesus is to follow him back down the mountain, back out of the door, out into our community and into the lives of others, into the suffering and death and pain we see all around us, to remind them through our lives, through our actions, through our words, that the 8th day is coming. And maybe all of us can be transformed a little bit. Peace be with you.